Hello, hello, hello. It's been some time, hasn't? Picking up from where we last left off, I was actually looking at the Gallup report and the point environment factors that help with engagement. And considering that this whole COVID-19 situation is now on a extended runway, and the whole working from home thing is quite pervasive globally, and it's going to be. Uh, Wanted to get your thoughts around, how do you actually connect the dots between what's happening now and the environment?
Yeah, well, that's actually quite relevant, and we were chatting, and I was speaking to someone else as well the other day, and like you were saying, we're all going through in different phases. We're all going through the same thing, but at different phases. And I think where you're at, you've been there for a little bit longer than we have, and we're now going into this phase where I think everybody's expectations were that we were going to go back to work in September, and so there's a lot of debate around employers wanting people to come back. Employees not necessarily wanting to go back because there's, all of a sudden 2 hours on traveling, is that worth it? But then there's also the concern of actually having to manage all the other things. So with our environment, working from home, when we refer back to the Gallup report about lighting and space, we've obviously got to look at this from a different angle now, thinking when we consider like how sustainable is what's going on. And, this might be a long time coming. So it's looking like we might have to rework everything. All of a sudden, we're not necessarily going to work 5 days a week. So it's about organizations looking at how are we going to better manage that. And, when you look at some of the things that Gallup said about the environment space, it's about that and also having good collaboration spaces. But what's important now, if we're not always going to be in the same place, is how do we create a structured, purposeful collaboration space? And how can we arrange that and kind of then lead back into all the other things that we've discussed with the trust and the overall well-being?
I mean, one thing that area, I wanted to actually speak about was this whole concept of working from home. So, you raised the point about creating that collaborative space online, but I wanted to zoom in on this whole thing about working from home. And there are a lot of articles that have been written, during this period as well as prior about, how you create a working from home space. And I thought that actually, maybe it's really about working from home office, not working from home. So it's, WFHO. And to set the context that what we are really needing to do to be realistic about what might unfold is to create a home office space, not just see ourselves as working from home, but how do we actually create a home working environment where there is a dedicated space, right, in the longer term. And tied to that also then, going back to organizations and leaders, is to recognize that not everyone might have the ability or the liberty of having a WFHO, right, a work from home office space for a variety of reasons. It could be the size of their living space, it could be the number of family members they're living with. There are a whole lot of factors. And for leaders and organizations then to consider what might be the new normal to then enable employees who are in the situation to then have a semblance of a home office environment. And this could take many forms. This could take the form of, for example, how then is the office environment reinvented so that it becomes individual work cubicles. So rather than just have open concepts, but like what you had with the telephone booth concept when you need to have private video conference calls. But how do you actually cater for that so that you recognize that not all employees have the luxury and the ability to have a sustainable working from home office possibility?
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is the thing. I think it's so complex, and how we're going to establish that to ensure that, the well-being is met and people stay engaged and happy. So yeah, I think this is definitely a conversation we could delve a little bit deeper into. So perhaps we'll cover that next week.
All right. Thank you, Adele.
Lovely chatting to you again. Have a wonderful evening. Chat soon.